Hey there. So, last night before I went to sleep, I recorded a video where I did a reading. It was kind of slow going. Like, at first I didn't even know I was going to do a reading. Then, I thought, okay, let's do a reading. And then it was sort of slow going, pulling out some information and, pulling the cards for different people in scenarios, or different people in different roles of the scenario. Okay? And then after I did all that, I was like, I don't really want to post this reading. I don't want to be associated with this. I don't want to deal with this, right? I don't want this in my energy. And I just felt it so strongly. And then instead of just not posting the reading, I felt like I should dig into that for myself. And then I dug into it, and you can see me on the reading, digging into it, asking the questions that I need to ask about why this is so bothersome to me. Well, right after I completed it, and when I was posting it, I knew this, which is that section was me channeling the energy of the person who was being urged to express themselves truthfully. It's like I was given their first-person perspective. The questions they would ask, the answers they're getting, the frustration and the sort of just disgust with the whole thing, and the way they're burdened by it, the way they're bothered by it. Because all the answers were their answers, all the answers that I was getting. Because afterwards I said that I was going to work on feeling what I had to feel and whatnot, but it wasn't that. It was that I was in their perspective. So that was them. Maybe that person is actually attempting to try to feel what they have to feel, but they don't know where to start. So a few things about this. If you watch that reading, a few people have. I hope you do find your way to this one, and I'm just going to leave it up to the divine orchestration to lead people through their own curiosity on what they listen to, But I just wanted to explore this a little bit more because, one, I've never done that before. Well, I can't say never done that before. Here's the thing. I've known that I've had the ability to channel other people. I thought it would just be dead people, but I think it's also living people, judging on my experience last night. Both times it's happened unconsciously. I didn't choose it, I didn't say, let me do this, I'm sort of just unpacking this a little bit, just for myself and as an explanation of what that reading was. But also I'm going to maybe experiment with utilizing that skill again in this reading. I'm going to do cards again maybe. See if I can get back into that person's perspective. Because I think I have some answers for them. Oh, yeah. I think that, well, before I get into that person, let me just talk about me for a second and this skill and what I know about it so far. And so, a long time ago now, let's see, about, I don't know, it had to be 8 years ago, ish. I was helping my sister with, she had gone on vacation and someone dropped her off at the airport and then had her car, and I was to get her car. Is that true? I was to get her car? I don't know how that worked. It's a very unimportant detail. But this goes to show like how memories can fade. The reason I'm trying to put it into context for myself is because I just don't know why I was in this situation. But I basically had to pick up this guy that was her friend. So I pick up this guy. We're driving. And maybe he picked me up. Oh, he must have picked me up because he had her car. And I had to drive him back to his house. Yeah, that makes sense. Anyways, her friend, basically, is what I'm trying to say. It wasn't someone I was, like, too familiar with, but, somewhat familiar with. We start talking about spiritual topics. And at that time, I was sort of newer into my journey, just a few years or whatever into it. And I was still really excited to share the information with other people. So I was really happy to be having this conversation, which was very spiritual. And it was so enjoyable that when we got to his house, I got out of the car and we'd continue talking on his porch. And then I felt an energy enter my body. And I was sort of forced to say that your mother wants you to know, like, everything that we've been talking about. And it was, like, very weird for me. I started crying and everything because it felt so like I was violated, but like this energy, it didn't feel like me. I knew it wasn't me. And it came into my body and it made me speak, and I was like fighting it, right? And so I end up saying the thing that it needs me to say, like it's trying to get me to say, which was basically that this guy's mother wanted him to know all the things we had been talking about. So I had already been influenced by her during the conversation. Say, like earlier on, I had issues with being outside my body and, boundaries issues, because I grew up in such a way where my boundaries were always violated. So I was sort of in and out of my body in my whole earlier on life. Like I was dissociated most of the time. Like just, it's maybe hard to explain, but like I just felt so traumatized that I dissociated as a coping mechanism. And it involved me being outside of my body. So anyway, the main thing I think was this guy's mother was really concerned about him, and he suffered from alcoholism. And when I say suffered, it's just like, for many years he had been really taken over by that. But at this time that we were having the conversation, he was maybe 6 months sober. And I think she just really wanted to get through to him that, like, to stay on that path and, like, to let him know that she was with him. Like, this mother needed him to know this. Like, needed him to know that she was still there. And so, as soon as I said what she wanted me to say, which was just that, she wanted him to know everything that we had talked about, which was spiritual topics and how to handle life and, just basic stuff. She left my body. Like, shoo, like it was like that. And then I was just like, whoa, right? And then I left, and that day, like, I sort of felt, like, wow, but everything was a little bit brighter. But also, I felt a little violated in a way, because, like, I didn't really feel like I consented to that. And I felt scared and, like, why did that happen and stuff, and freaked out for sure. And I didn't want to go back to that guy's house after that. And he invited me. My sister would say, oh, he would like you to come over. You want to go visit with me? Nah, thanks. So I really avoided any kind of things like that, after that. Another time, I don't know if it was before or after that, to be honest. I fell out of my body. Like, I was in the habit at the time of waking up in the middle of the night. So this time when I woke up in the middle of the night, I vaped, which was usual for me back at that time. I don't use cannabis anymore, but I did then to go back to sleep. So I vaped, and just as I was laying back down, I heard a voice. I'd never heard the voice before, and I haven't heard it since. And it was a deep male voice. And it didn't feel like it came from outside of my head. It just came from inside my head. Which, and it said, do you want to see this? And I didn't skip a beat. I didn't think about it. I said yes. And then I fell out of my body. Like it felt like that sensation. Like I was coming out of the back of my body. And then I could see myself from outside my body, laying in my bed, next to my boyfriend, who was also laying in my bed. Everything was in sepia tones. I was looking at myself from outside of my body. And I was like, wow. I just remember looking around the room, and it was just sepia tones. Like, nothing was in color. And then as soon as I said, wow, this must be what they're talking about. And I was talking about people who talk about out-of-body experiences or astral travel. And then I right back in my body. And I was awake. When I had looked at myself, it looked like I was sleeping. So I got my journal and started writing about it. And later, when I looked at the journal entry, I had been writing like, wow, like everything looks so bright and beautiful. Even the color of this blue ink is gorgeous, like I was writing. And it was black ink when I looked back at it. It wasn't even blue ink. But at the time, when I was writing it, my perceptions were of the beautiful colors. So somehow my perception seemed enhanced after it happened. And that was the case as well when I got channeled by that man's mother. So since then, I haven't really been aware of doing any inner outer body stuff necessarily. In fact, I've actually spent many years trying to get in my body and be in my body and be grounded, and like, I think I successfully did it. I actually had lost weight for a long time. I think I was just getting in my body then, and just yesterday though, I had a conversation with somebody who I had done a reading for previously. So this was somebody who's sort of very spiritual as well, and who maybe has like a high calling, right? Like spiritually, you can just feel their um, presence spiritually. You know, I can anyway. And and after interacting with this person, I was completely ungrounded. Like, I forgot things. It was like I didn't know where I am anymore. Like, it was, but not quite that bad as not knowing where I am. But like, like, I'm pretty practical. I have good routines and I take care of myself very well. I'm very efficient at it. I don't do things like forget my keys, or leave my phone in the car and things like that. And, I was experiencing, like, did I lock my door? Oh my gosh, I have to go back outside because I forgot my phone. Like, things that aren't usual for me, like, that never have happened before. I don't think I've ever left my phone in the car before. Maybe once, I'm not sure. In the 8 months I've lived here, I don't know. Maybe. Probably not. So, yesterday that happened, and then I did that reading. So I was completely ungrounded, like I used to be years ago. When I said ungrounded, I'm saying not grounded to the earth. You've heard of grounding? Getting your bare feet on the earth. It's really, really important. And I have made it part of my ritual to stay grounded. So, unbeknownst to me though, being ungrounded, it made me more able to channel the other person. And I didn't consciously choose it. It just sort of happened. So, of course, I'd like to get more control over something like this. And maybe that's what I need to do next, right? But, yeah. That's what happened. So if you were the second person watching that, like, I'm going to channel you again. I'm going to ask if I have permission. Kind of like the permission thing. I think your soul will give me permission. I think we're buds on a soul level, and I think that's why I can even channel your scenarios. So, thank you. If you're another player in that scenario, and you're here to watch this, let's see what happens. I don't know. I'm going to try it. Okay. I'm going to pause. Give me a minute. I'm going to adjust myself. I'll be right back. So I think a big reason why I like stumble into this instead of doing this and like learning this and like properly training myself to do it is because my conscious mind doesn't actually think I should be doing it or something. Like, I'm gonna do it. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know. Like, what gives me the right is kind of what the feeling I have. Like, what gives me the right? But I think that's probably the wrong way to think about this, right? Because, like, this is a skill. It depends on how I use it. You know, do I use it for good? And I do trust myself to use it for good. So, what I think I'm going to be doing is channeling someone who's pretty stuck in addiction. But I don't think they've even dealt with the part of the addiction that's gripping them. They're still on the terms of being weak to even care enough to attempt to stop. Yeah. The energy's like, what's, like, no one cares. Like, I don't even care if I just have this substance. I think it's alcohol. Yeah, because I'm eating grapes. Yeah, I think it's alcohol. And I don't think they feel very good in the morning afterwards, but I think they don't feel so bad that they can't live. Like, it's pretty minor, the discomfort their body has, but it is there. I just heard they've been ignoring it for a long time. Okay. I haven't used this oracle in a while. This is my, I don't know if I ever named this oracle, but it's an oracle. It has over 500 concepts in here. When I just looked down, I saw protection and love. This person is trying to protect themselves from love. They feel weakened by it. This is a kindred soul. Okay. I don't think this soul has been acting all that kindred. And they know it. I missed my mouth. Interesting. Maybe they're trying to quit. They've been trying to quit. Okay. So only sometimes they give in to the weakness. Okay. What else? Oh, their body's trying to make them quit. So their body might be trying to give them more symptoms so that they'll listen. I'm just kind of getting into a space of, like, asking this soul, self-assessment. That's good. This soul is being asked to do a self-assessment of what is in their highest good, to look at their boundaries, and specifically where they feel inadequate. To go towards their destiny. Limited view. Okay. Avoidance. Needy. 1 week. Optimist. It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Cleared timeline. Ask for assistance from appropriate. We'll do one more. And deep dive. Oh, I guess we're doing more. Quality time. Humiliation. Depressed. And offensive. Okay. Alright. I'm going to channel this. Guys. This is new for me. Bear with me. I don't like it. Actually, as a... See, I'm so uncomfortable with this because as the energy kind of starts to come, I feel really uncomfortable. Part of me is like, no, I just don't want this. Alright, maybe that's it. Alright, I just don't want this. Okay, now I'm channeling as that person. Let me go with it. I just don't want this. I don't want to deal with this. The situation does not have what I need. It's a lot of work, and I've already learned this lesson. I already know that this isn't something for me. I just heard this girl's crazy. This girl is crazy. Looking to me, wanting something from me, needing something from me. I'm not dealing with this. Oh my god, this person's view is so small. Sorry, I had to pop out of it because that was all there was. It was like, this person has told themselves a story that they don't believe in the destiny that they've agreed to on a soul level. They've already assessed themselves and decided who they are and who they're not. And this calling that they feel to express and be honest is never going to happen because they are not willing to even give that part of themselves any airtime. They wouldn't even speak it to themselves. They don't feel in a panic about that either. They don't think that there's a problem. Let me try to go back in. Ooh, Just so you know, when I step into the energy, it feels so burdened and low, like uncomfortable. I don't think they would notice that. I think it's there every day, so they don't notice it. Alright, back in. I'm going to speak as if I'm them. I'm going to speak honestly as if I'm them. I'm going to try to voice the things that haven't been voiced a little bit, at least. And that is that, like, yeah, I know what you're asking of me. Yeah, I know what you want from me. The calling. I know. I'm not doing it. I don't want to look at where I'm inadequate. I got plenty of things here to keep me happy in life. I help people. I do the right thing. I'm not out here trying to hurt people. It's black and white. What's the big deal? No one else can tell me what's best for me. I'm just out here having fun, while I'm here on this earth. Why not? Yeah, I kind of feel. I'm not going to tell you this, but. Okay, I have to pop out to say it. Like, this person feels like they kind of know, but they like push it away. What they know is that there's more and that they're being called to something, but they're not willing to go there. They're literally not willing. This person isn't even willing to deep dive into their own depression or humiliation. They'd rather avoid. This person has been humiliated and they have suppressed it really deeply. They feel like the time for dealing with whatever was being asked of them is in the past. It's too late now. All they can do is move on. You hear how my voice it feels scratchier or something? I don't know if that's true, but it feels like it. It feels like my voice is like scratchier or something like that. I'm going to do the astrology cards. I feel like when I go to the astrology cards, it's more like their highest self, that I can channel their soul. And this person's soul feels a lot lighter than their 3D self. And this is how their soul sees it. Dude, I don't know what to say. I just think I know it all down there. And it's because of who you are. Your friendship would be too boundary breaking because of the small world that I'm choosing to live in. I don't really think about things in terms of evolution and change and like what could be. I am constantly faced with these lessons about relationship and people and how to deal with them and stuff. Like that's a lot on me, right now. And I'm just like busy changing it up all the time, just being like keeping things on a friend level with the people that I know are not challenging me or people that I can easily walk away from. I'll just tell myself, that it's very light and that it's not anything that needs to be worried about deeper than that. But I don't even think about the fact that, like, I'm weighing on other people's hearts. And I think I'm treading lightly, but I'm actually stomping over people. And that's why the pressure keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's like I'm being asked to grow through these experiences I'm having. And especially the ones with long-time friendships where I'm seeing the truth of people. That I'm seeing the truth of myself because of things I let go and things I wasn't willing to look at deeper. If I would just be solid and stable and like consistent for a period of time, it would allow me to see what I need to see. But so far, that's not really been how it's been going. I'm sort of letting my coping mechanisms run the show right now down there. And I'm not responding to any like high callings or anything like that. It's more like towers are happening, and that's why I adjust or whatever. Like it's not like I'm planning out my future or anything other than like my getting by, making sure I got do what I need to do to like maintain this. It's gonna suck when that part of me realizes all the hurt that I've caused. probably why I've been avoiding it. But we do have movement. We're just getting there very slowly. There's a lot of egoic structures that are needing to be disassembled. Because it's like I've built myself up on these certain beliefs and stories that I've told myself. And it hasn't left any room for me to be a human, really. It's just like it's like I think I'm some sort of like rock star or something. I don't mean that literally. I mean like in the way I'm treated or the way I allow myself to be treated. It's around people who really need something from me, want something from me, want me in their life for how it makes them feel about themselves because of my popularity or whatever. You know, I spend time with people who think it's a prize to spend time with me. That's how I've been managing my insecurities and doubts and fears. Um, there's been a stream of people who have been willing to indulge me in that, so I haven't had any reason to look elsewhere, really. Okay, I'm going to do cards one more time for that. Can we get some cards for the 3D version? It's not true that I'm trying to play small and not live my life in a way that's progressive and improving. I'm always working on my goals. I'm always doing one step better. So my love life's not really that balanced. It's not my fault all these women fall over me. I kind of think I should be a good example for my kids, but I'm doing the best I can. Like, it's not just me out here, right? Like, I'm dealing with other people too. Like, they're adults, they have a part in it, they can choose. I just go where I'm loved, you know? Like, they love me, so that's good enough for me. I keep my promises, you know? I'm not promising anyone anything that I can't keep. I'm not able to channel the hidden influence in this reading. It's the 12th house. And also the relief. Because this person doesn't believe that they need relief. But the 12th house is hidden enemies. And I think he's right. I think people do love him. I don't think he returns that love. Like, I didn't feel like when I was talking about the other people that I loved them. And relief comes from honoring the promises that he's made. But I think he does honor his promises, and he doesn't promise things that he can't keep. But he's only dealing on his human level because he does not consider the thing that he's not paying attention to up here is part of his promises that he made as a soul. Mm-hmm. So he tells himself that's not important. He's not going to make it be important. But he doesn't realize that his soul, which is part of him, did promise, did have this calling in mind. So here's what I'm thinking. You know, his highest self didn't seem bothered by how he was living, right? But it felt like it had been a trek. Like, we tried a lot of things. Here, this is just where we're at, you know? And if his soul has promised this, but his human is not aware of that and not willing to become aware of it easily. Like, I guess what I'm brought to is like, well, what will make him become aware of his promise as a soul? What will make him become aware of it, his promise as a soul? Whew. Known influence, Uranus. It will be sudden. It will be electrifying. It will be life-changing. Perhaps a sudden realization, a sudden awareness. Not being shown what it will be that will get this person to realize for themselves whenever it happens. Because hidden influence, Sphinx. Sphinx is the mysteries. But, you know, I bet you Sphinx has a bigger meaning. Let's look it up. Prominent figure in Egyptian, serving as a guardian and symbol of strength. A spiritual guardian and protector of pyramids, often depicted as a male with a pharaoh's head. Pharaoh? I don't know how to say the word. Sphinxes represent the pharaoh's divine power and were often included in tomb and temple complexes. Strength and guardianship. Known for posing riddles, and those who failed to answer correctly were often devoured. The most famous story involves Oedipus solving the Sphinx's riddle, leading to its demise. Oedipus, okay. And Oedipus represents fate, basically, because he unknowingly fulfills a prophecy. a tragic hero. Oedipus later encountered the Sphinx, a mythological creature who terrorized Thebes with riddles. Oedipus solved the riddle, causing the Sphinx to kill herself and freeing Thebes from her curse. So the hidden influences, it could be that something comes to light about someone who this person sees as a guardian, who's, a kindred spirit. Someone who this person sees as a kindred spirit. The truth may come to light about them. But also, I don't think we're going to exactly know, because I think this level of shock is going to be part of what helps this person wake up. They're going to experience melancholia to a degree that they need to create balance for themselves. Like, they'll have to actively do some things to get themselves out of it. And Thetis, I think, is balance and justice. They'll come into a pressure around being balanced. Thetis. Prophetic abilities and shape-shifting powers. I think the person that's going to have themselves revealed that's around this person, so this person thinks this is a kindred spirit, and when they see the truth, it's actually putting a lot of pressure on this person. I guess this is the plan. I think this person's going to realize that that person has excessive pride and is not actually a kindred spirit, is willing to do things to the detriment of others. It says relief comes from the disseminating moon, also known as the waning gibbous moon, occurring between the full moon and the last quarter moon. So relief comes from sharing, letting go, reflecting on what was learned and released during the full moon. According to Chart Harmony, think of it as a scattering of the seeds of knowledge and insight gained during the full moon, sharing them with others and integrating them into your life. So it's after an ending, after the ending. So something's going to end. And then the relief comes from actually letting it end, seeing the truth, and literally integrating those truths into your life. I think here's what's very important and why I'm being given this message to share. Because something that brought me to where I am now, as far as being able to do my shadow work, is that I took anything that I saw outside of myself and I looked for it inside me. I used the mirror concept. The 7 Essene mirrors. As told by Greg Braden on YouTube, it's a long video, worth watching. He talks about the ways that the Essenes told us that people are reflecting ourselves back to us in 7 different ways. And so if you know that you're being reflected back to you by the people around you, then you can get to know yourself better. Then you can see what you've not been willing to see. Because if we're not willing to see something within ourselves, we will see it outside of ourselves. So basically this is saying, like, this person is just going to be put in more and more situations where they are going to be disillusioned. And it's usually going to come from seeing people outside of themselves who they thought were one way, but they turn out to be another. And that is the truth about them too. If they looked at themselves, they would have to realize that they thought they were one way, but they're actually another. They've just been denying the bigger picture of who they really are. And they've sort of been playing small, and they don't realize that the reason that they're limiting themselves is because of pain they're trying to avoid, that they have lodged in them from earlier on experiences that haven't been fully processed through. If this was a person who wanted to heal, who knew, like, the pain was holding them back, this person could heal. This person is not of that mindset and doesn't believe in that even, probably. This person, I kind of want to say, and I don't want to minimize them or whatever this is, but it's like tough guy syndrome. I can't tell you how refreshing it's been to come across men who are self-aware, who are aware of emotions as being a human thing, not just a woman thing, and who allow themselves that, but they're also still manly. This, like, Archie Bunker stuff, it's like, and if you don't know my reference to Archie Bunker, it's like the show All in the Family had this grumpy father figure in it, and he was sort of a grumpy, mean, rude, didn't, sometimes it would be a tender moment, but it was never really tender, I don't know. It's just like, this person's not allowing themselves to be a whole person yet. They don't feel adequate to do that because they've been programmed in such a way that said they can't do that. But they don't really know that yet because they haven't been able to look deeper into the reasons why they're living like they're living. I think they're very optimistic. I think that they feel it's fine to continue on how they are. I think that they are having a lot of experiences that they enjoy. So they get the dopamine hits from that, and that's what they sustain themselves on. But really, their soul, even their human, needs more than that. And they don't realize that they're trying to unconsciously get a need met for feeling loved, feeling important. That's where they're only surrounding themselves with people who put them in that role. But it's all very superficial because they don't ever let anyone get to know them on a deeper level. And they have deep feelings, and I think they know that. I just think that they, especially during this reading, this channeling, where I was allowed to channel them, I was shown that they have a pretty easy time avoiding that. I don't think it's because it's not there. I think that they would never let anyone see them really go there. And it's sad that they don't have anyone that they could allow to see them. Which is actually kind of what I started saying in that reading yesterday about my own self. I had surrounded myself with people who I really couldn't allow to see me fully because I didn't think they would be all on board and supportive and cheer me on anymore. And that's what this person thinks too, I think. And that's probably the common thread, and that's probably why I can channel them. Wow. So I sometimes say in my videos about how when we are ready to heal something, that's the time when that we heal it, that we shouldn't beat ourselves up for having had it all up till that point, because we needed it for maybe interacting with other people at certain stages, right? If I had cleaned up my shadow to the core earlier on, then I wouldn't have had this interaction. So in my shadow, I'm talking about me now needing to change the story about whether or not I have supportive people around me, right? But because I am having that experience, it makes me a match to this person who I can channel. And I guess if a person like this is watching this, then they get to see themselves from someone else's eyes, from someone else's interpretation of their energy. And that may or may not be helpful. And maybe you have someone like this in your life, and maybe this is helpful on the premise that you can see them from outside of your own eyes, you know? But this is, again, through my eyes, right? All of that channeling is still through my eyes. It's still through my biases. It's still through my limitations of interpretation. So bear that in mind, you know? That's all I could ever do as a channel. But I see how it could still be helpful. And, yeah. Thank you for participating, watching, showing interest in this experiment that I've done here. I'm going to think about it some more and maybe like rearrange myself on how I handle things like this and whether or not I make room for this kind of thing in my life more often or not. You know, I'll get back to y'all on that when I figure it out for myself. But I'm glad that I tried it out.